Hey YouTube, it's Jafik, and once again, thank you for joining me another time. Today I want to start the very first episode of Useless Education. For a while I wanted to do this. I am thinking about the outfit I wanted to wear, the setup, how I want to deliver the stories, and just wanting the time to put it all together, and can never seem to find the time. Like, time just runs away. Time runs away. I can't even tell you where time goes for most of the time, for most of my days. But time just seems to go through the door as fast as possible. But yeah, Today I want to do the first episode of Useless Education, and before I do that, I want to take a stroll down memory lane, just going through high school. And I think I have the right to do this, by the way, because I've been an educator for over 10 years and a student for as long as I can remember, right? And so I feel like I have the right to talk about it. And I've said this in one of my videos before. When you're a child, you look up to your mom and dad, older brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles. You look up to the adults for answers, right? You say, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and "Daddy, I would like this." Why does this happen? And they'll give you an answer and provide a solution. When you become a teenager, you're also, when you ask your parents certain things, they'll be like, "What do you think?" No, they're challenging you to process the scenario as well. And when you become an adult, you are now in the position to provide the solution. At my age, I can no longer just be comfortable with asking the questions or taking a response. I'm in a position now where I'm being asked questions. I have to critically think about the matters at hand and come up with a useful solution, a workable solution, right? So, as an educator and learner, I believe that for Jamaicans in Jamaica, our education system needs a lot of work, right? Needs a lot of work, and I want to put my few cents in contributing towards creating the change that we need in our education system. But before I get into all of that, let me check ChatGPT, because it's a new thing on the block. I mean, it's not new, but yeah, I'm using it I'm now using it to find a lot of information. So let's agree, right, on what education is. Because back in college they said that education is an observable change in behavior due to exposure to content, right? But it's an observable change in behavior. We must be able to see a difference. You can't say that you have learned anything and nothing has changed about you. Nothing has changed about your actions and your decision making, your thought processes, right? There has to be an observable change. That was several years ago. So let's hear what ChatGPT has to say today. All right. So I've asked ChatGPT, what is education? And here's what ChatGPT said. Education is the process of acquiring knowledge, skills, values, and habits through learning, instructions, or experience. It can happen in formal settings like schools and universities, or informally through life's experiences, conversations, and self-study. At its core, education isn't just about memorizing facts. It's about learning how to think, solve problems, understanding the world, and grow as a person. It plays a big role in shaping individuals, communities, and entire society. All right, so I can agree with what ChatGPT said about what education is, right? And the part that I want to focus on is to solve problems. To solve problems. Let me paint a scenario for you before I get too deep. You have left your community as a child. At first, you're learning how to understand language and speak, put sentences together. Yes, those are good for the first part. You're learning about shapes, colors, and all these things, fruits, food groups, and all of that kind of stuff. Those preliminary contents are very good, right? Very necessary. But then you get to, say, primary school, and then they start to teach you a lot of strange things and complex things. And that's where I feel like we've taken a turn. In fact, even way before that, to be honest. But let me just start there. That's where I think we have taken a turn downhill. Right? And here's why I said so. You go to school and you left the village to go to school, or you're going to school within the village. Now, you should be going to school to get an education to solve a problem, or to solve problem, yet you've gone to school for 15 plus years, and the same old house that grandma lived in is worse off when you graduated. You've gone to school for 15 years, and that outside bathroom that you used to use is still outside bathroom. Then what did you learn? And I won't blame the learner this time, and I know why, and in other videos I'll get into it. I'll give you examples, because I'm one of the person who believe that if you're going to point out a problem, you must also be able to provide or suggest a solution. So for everything that I have to say, I have a solution to suggest. So you've gone to school for 15 years. You used to put 2 big plats in your hair, right, to go to school, and at the end of school for 15 years you still can't do much more than those 2 big plats. I'll say what you've gotten is a useless education. You walked on the same dirt road from your yard to school, and at the end of 15 years of school, and for those of us who've gone on to higher education, made it even worse, 19 years of school, and at the end of it, still dirt road, still stony road. I would say useless education. You come from a house where you use tank rainwater falling from the roofs, running down through the trenches, going down into the tank for 15 years, and at the end of it you're still using tank water. The problem has not been solved, therefore you've acquired useless education. Mama was cooking on wood fire, and outdoors in the open, or at the fireside, right, under the shed. And for 15 years after you come back, it's still there, and the infrastructure has not changed. You've acquired useless education. If the education that you have does not solve the problem that you left at home, you've acquired useless education. There's another side to it that I'll get, but why did you go to school if not to solve the problems that you have? If you've gone to school for 19 plus years, and now you need to go get a job to solve the problems that you have, you've acquired useless education. We go to school to solve problems. That's what we should do. That's not what we do. A lot of us go to school, or sent to school, and it's really a daycare center, right? It's really a daycare center. If the majority of us who go to school come out with a failure grade, we've acquired useless education. It is a process that does not work. If you're doing some tests on some laboratory mice, and of 100 laboratory miles, only 3 passed. The process was unsuccessful. Therefore, you've acquired useless education. I know there are some people who, as soon as you start speaking, the emotions start bubbling up and they just want to hit back. But before you hit back, or even after you hit back, right, I welcome it. Just may have ice, bring a bag juice, make we make some drinks, sit down and chat. Just forward. Let's have a talk. Right? The comment section is there. Right? Just say a little bit more than me, I idiot, because I can't make anything from that. Right? I can't understand anything from that. Say a little bit more than that, right? If you've gone to school and the same and the paint from the house that you left was stripping, the roof was leaking, the door is creaking, and now it's fully off the hinge and lean up on the wall, and nothing was done, you've acquired useless education. If the education that you've received did not help you to solve any problem within your immediate surrounding, you've acquired useless education. If the education that you've received can only solve other people's problem, it is not education, it's programming. If the education that you receive can only be used to solve other people's problem and not your own, you've been programmed, not educated. And I say this because, and you're only useful to them. And some educators and some policy makers will argue that you can, but nobody stopped you from doing anything. Nobody stopped you from using your knowledge to solve your own problems. Actually, yes, you do stop us. You never encourage us. The aim was not to solve your own problems. I've been an educator for years. I've written aims, I've written objectives, right? I've seen lots of objectives, and most of them are geared towards solving an employer's problem and not your own. And so what do you find out? The 17-year-old boy and the 17-year-old girl leaves high school feeling as hopeless as ever before, because when they started it, they weren't this hopeless. Now they're wondering, what am I going to do? They start searching for jobs, only to find out that of the 100% of them that left high school, only 20% is able to get a job. And of the 20% that and of the 100% that left high school, only about 5% will be able to pursue higher education. So the vast majority is just left wondering what to do. Now you have CXC, English, Maths, Literature, Science. Some of you don't have any, right? But either way, even the ones who've passed these exams find themselves in the same position as the others. Fortunately, there are some who have parents who can guide them into a more promising direction. But for the vast majority, that's where the cookie crumbles, and they find out that nothing that they have learned is useful. Still having water shortage in their community, and I don't even want to touch on the college levels. You left school still having challenges in your water shortage, power outage in your community, right? Bad roads, poor infrastructures, no food, and you have to now you're wondering, how do I make it out of this? And so you find out that a lot of people, they're just praying for the day that they get an opportunity to leave. Yet we want a brighter Jamaica where you can raise families and do business. But for the vast majority, if you give them an opportunity tomorrow, they will leave without a second thought. But that's not what's happening, and so they're there. A lot of them turn to drugs. A lot of them turn to guns. A lot of young girls get pregnant and find themselves with 3, 4, 5 babies before they can come up for air. A lot of boys just find themselves by the wayside, not amounting to anything, because the education was useless. But I have a bit of solution. I have a lot of solutions, and on the next episode we'll dive deeper in what it means, with what I mean by useless education, and how we can build a better system, a better educational system, a better education system for Jamaicans. Thank you for watching, and as always, one love.